When Peace Ends. The twin sons of Kepler 442b painted the wheat fields in shades of gold and amber as Maya Steele guided the hover tractor through another perfect row. The grain swayed in the gentle breeze, heavy with the promise of harvest. This was exactly the kind of peace she had dreamed of during those long, bloody years fighting in the Outer Rim Wars. No explosions, no screaming, no death. Just the honest work of growing things instead of destroying them. "Mama Maya!" called Zara from the edge of the field. The young Zeltharian girl's blue-scaled skin caught the sunlight as she waved enthusiastically. Her forearms gestured wildly in excitement. "Kix found something strange in the south field." Maya powered down the tractor and smiled. Zara had been only 6 years old when Maya found her hiding in the ruins of a bombed settlement 3 years ago. The Hegemony Empire had classified Zara's people as culturally inferior and scattered them across the galaxy. Now she was 9, bright and curious, with a laugh that could chase away Maya's darkest memories. Walking toward the farmhouse, Maya spotted her other adopted child. Kix was a young Mantari, no bigger than a human 10-year-old, but with the wisdom of his people showing in his large golden eyes. His insect-like features might have frightened some humans, but to Maya, he was simply her son. He stood frozen near a strange metallic object half buried in the soil. "It's some kind of scanner," Kix said in his careful, precise way of speaking. "The energy signature is unfamiliar." Rex, Maya's constant companion, sniffed around the device with obvious suspicion. The Wolverine was no ordinary Earth animal. Genetically enhanced during the war for enhanced aggression, intelligence, and loyalty, Rex had been Maya's partner through countless battles. His dark fur bristled as he detected something that didn't belong on their peaceful world. Maya knelt beside the device, her trained eye immediately recognizing hegemony technology. Her blood ran cold. After 5 years of quiet farming, her past had found her. "Kids, go inside," she said quietly, her voice taking on the commanding tone she had hoped never to use again. "But Mama Maya," Zara started to protest. "Now." The single word carried enough authority to send both children running toward the house. Rex remained at her side, a low growl rumbling in his throat. Maya stood, her farmer's clothes suddenly feeling like a costume. For 5 years, she had been Maya Steele, the colonist, the adoptive mother, the peaceful grower of grain. But the device in the dirt belonged to a different world, one where she had been known by another name entirely. The steel storm. The sky above began to darken as 3 massive ships descended through the atmosphere. Their hulls gleamed with the silver and black of hegemony colors, weapons ports visible like dead eyes along their sides. Maya's hand moved instinctively to her hip, where she once carried a plasma rifle. Now there was only empty air. The ships landed in her wheat field, crushing months of careful work under their massive weight. Maya felt each destroyed stalk like a personal insult, but she kept her expression neutral. Rex pressed closer to her leg, muscles coiled for action. The airlock of the nearest ship hissed open, releasing a ramp that touched down on Maya's soil. Down walked a figure that made Maya's jaw clench with recognition. Ambassador Thex of the Hegemony Cultural Compliance Division, a tall, pale humanoid with skin like polished marble and eyes like chips of ice. "Maya Steele," Thex said, his voice carrying across the field with unnatural clarity. "The legendary Steel Storm, hiding among the grain." "My name is Maya Chen now," she replied, using the false identity she had built for herself. "I'm a registered colonist. I have rights under the Frontier Protection Act." Thex smiled, an expression that held no warmth. "Rights are what the hegemony grants, human, and we have come to correct a violation of Cultural Compliance Directive 447. Behind Thex, a squad of hegemony enforcers marched down the ramp. Each stood nearly 7 feet tall, their bodies encased in powered armor that made them look like mechanical nightmares. Their weapons hummed with barely contained energy. "You harbor non-compliant alien miners," Thex continued. "The Zeltharian and Mantari specimens must be remanded to proper cultural reformation centers for adjustment." Maya felt her heart turn to ice. "They're my children. They are property of their respective species, on loan to the galaxy until properly civilized." Thex gestured, and 2 enforcers began walking toward the farmhouse. "Resistance will be noted in your file," Rex snarled, his enhanced muscles rippling under his dark fur. The sound was like tearing metal, and even the enforcers hesitated. "Call off your pet, Steel Storm," Thex warned. "Our weapons are set to kill, not stun." Maya's mind raced through options, calculations, tactical considerations that she had hoped never to need again. 2 children against an entire squad of enforcers. Rex was deadly, but plasma rifles could cut him down before he reached the enemy, and if she fought now, if she failed, Zara and Kix would be taken anyway. "Let me say goodbye," she said finally. Thex nodded graciously. "You have 5 minutes." Maya walked to the farmhouse with Rex padding silently beside her. Inside, she found Zara and Kix huddled together on the couch, their faces pale with fear. They had heard everything through the window. "Are they really taking us away?" Zara whispered, her forearms wrapped around Kix protectively. Maya knelt before them, her hands gentle on their faces. "Yes, little star, but only for a while." "Will you come for us?" Kix asked, his golden eyes wide with hope and terror. Maya met his gaze steadily. "Nothing in this galaxy will stop me." She hugged them both, memorizing their scent, their warmth, the exact way they fit against her. Then she stood and walked to a hidden panel in the wall. Inside lay her emergency kit. False identification, untraceable credit chips, and most importantly, a single photograph. The picture showed a younger Maya in military dress uniform, standing beside Rex on the deck of a battleship. Behind them, the wreckage of a hegemony fleet drifted in space. She slipped the photo into her pocket and returned to her children. "Remember," she whispered to them, "you are my children. You belong to no one else, and I will find you." The enforcers came for them then, their mechanical hands surprisingly gentle as they led Zara and Kix away. Maya watched from the porch as her children were loaded into the ship, their faces pressed against the windows, hands reaching for her. The ships lifted off, carrying away everything that mattered to her. Maya stood in the ruins of her wheat field until the vessels disappeared into the star-filled sky. Rex whined softly beside her, pressing his massive head against her leg. "I know, boy," she murmured, her fingers scratching behind his ears. "I know." She walked back into the house and went straight to the basement. Hidden behind a false wall lay a room that Maya had hoped never to enter again. Inside, preserved in climate-controlled storage, was her past. The armor was matte black, designed for stealth and intimidation. The plasma rifle still held its charge after 5 years. Her tactical gear, her combat boots, her helmet with its distinctive red visor, everything that had made her the most feared human soldier in the galaxy. Maya began to dress, each piece of equipment bringing back memories she had tried to bury. The weight of the armor felt familiar, like coming home to a house filled with ghosts. Rex watched her transformation with understanding. He too remembered what they had been. When she was fully equipped, Maya Steele looked at herself in the mirror. The farmer was gone. In her place stood the Steel Storm, the human warrior who had broken 3 hegemony battle groups and earned a place in their nightmare stories. She activated her personal communicator and sent a coded message to an old contact. Within hours, she had passage off-world and a new identity. By morning, she would be hunting. Walking back to the wheat field, Maya knelt and touched the soil where her crops had been. This had been a good life, a peaceful life, but peace was a luxury she could no longer afford. "They made a mistake, Rex," she said, her voice harder than titanium. "They think humans are just another species to be controlled. They're about to learn why Earth won the Rim Wars." Rex responded with a growl that promised violence. Together they walked toward the shuttle that would carry them back to war. Behind them, the farmhouse stood empty, but not abandoned. This was still home, and home was worth any price to defend. The hunt was about to begin. Into the lion's den. The space station orbiting Dominion Prime looked like a metal flower blooming in the void, its petals made of docking bays and defense platforms. Maya Steele adjusted her stolen merchant credentials one last time as her cargo hauler approached the inspection checkpoint. Beside her, Rex lay curled in a shipping crate marked agricultural samples, his breathing slow and controlled. To any scanner, he would appear to be nothing more than preserved Earth specimens. "Merchant vessel Grain Runner, state your business," crackled the hegemony traffic controller through the comm. "Delivering protein supplements to the Cultural Reformation Center," Maya replied, her voice pitched higher than normal and carrying a slight accent that marked her as coming from the outer colonies. "Permit code Alpha 779. The pause stretched long enough for Maya's hand to drift toward her concealed sidearm. Then the controller responded. "Cleared for Bay 94. Welcome to Dominion Prime." As her ship descended through the atmosphere, Maya got her first look at the hegemony's capital world in 15 years. The planet's surface was a perfect grid of crystalline towers and geometric gardens, every line planned and regulated. No chaos, no wilderness, no deviation from the approved design. It was everything Maya had learned to hate during the war. The Cultural Reformation Center sat like a black stain on the perfect landscape, its walls rising from the earth in sharp angles that hurt to look at. Maya memorized every detail as she guided her ship toward the commercial district. Somewhere inside that fortress, Zara and Kix were being reformed into proper hegemony citizens. After docking, Maya made her way through the sterile corridors of the station. Every surface gleamed with antiseptic perfection. The aliens she passed moved with the mechanical precision of beings who had learned that individuality was dangerous. They kept their eyes down, spoke in whispers, and flinched when hegemony officials passed by. Maya's first stop was the merchant quarter, where she needed to establish her cover story. The protein supplement business was real enough. She had purchased actual merchandise to sell, but her true purpose lay in gathering intelligence. At Vendor Station 7, she met her contact. Grix was a Thalaxian trader, his blue-green skin mottled with nervous patches of yellow. His species had been liberated by the hegemony 20 years ago, and their natural empathy had been surgically reduced to acceptable levels. Still, enough remained for him to recognize danger when he saw it. "You are not what you appear," Grix whispered as they conducted their business transaction. His 4 eyes darted constantly toward the security cameras. "Your movements, your stance, you are military." Maya smiled the bland smile of a boring merchant. "Former colonial security, nothing exciting." "The center has been taking more children lately," Grix continued under his breath while examining her protein samples. "Zeltharians, Mantari, even some Kytherian cubs. They say the old methods were too slow." Maya's grip tightened on the sample case. "Old methods?" "Cultural integration classes, behavioral modification, language suppression." Grix's voice dropped even further. "Now they use neural programming, faster, more permanent. The children who come out remember nothing of their birth cultures." Ice formed in Maya's veins. Neural programming was torture disguised as medicine, a way to strip away everything that made a being unique and replace it with hegemony-approved thoughts. If they used it on Zara and Kix. "How long does the process take?" she asked. 3 weeks for a complete personality restructure," Grix replied. "Your protein supplements will help. The neural programming requires high nutrition to prevent brain damage." Maya completed the sale with mechanical efficiency, her mind already calculating timelines. The children had been taken 4 days ago. That left her 17 days before they were lost forever. That evening, she released Rex from his crate in the cargo hold of her ship. The Wolverine stretched his enhanced muscles and sniffed the recycled air with obvious distaste. "I know, boy," Maya murmured, scratching behind his ears. "This place smells like fear and disinfectant, but we're here for the kids." She had spent the day mapping the Cultural Reformation Center using public records, utility blueprints, and carefully observed security rotations. The facility was built like a fortress, with energy shields, automated defenses, and 3 full battalions of hegemony enforcers. A direct assault would be suicide. Fortunately, Maya Steele had never believed in direct assaults when subtlety would serve. The next morning, she presented herself at the center's administrative office as Dr. Chen Wei, a nutrition specialist hired to optimize the protein supplement program. Her credentials were perfect. She had spent considerable time and money ensuring they would pass any inspection. Administrator Vex was a hegemony pure blood, tall and pale with the cold eyes of someone who saw other beings as objects to be managed. He reviewed her paperwork with mechanical precision. "Dr. Chen," he said finally, "your reputation precedes you. The supplement program has shown remarkable results in maintaining subject health during neural restructuring." "I'm always happy to help advance the cause of cultural unity," Maya replied with just the right amount of enthusiasm. Vex led her on a tour of the facility, and Maya memorized every corridor, every security checkpoint, every possible escape route. The center was divided into 3 sections: intake and processing, active reformation, and completion holding. Children entered at one end confused and frightened. They emerged at the other end as perfect, empty-eyed citizens. In the active reformation section, Maya saw them. Through a reinforced window, she watched Zara and Kix sitting in separate cells, their heads covered with neural programming helmets. Electrodes pulsed with soft light as alien machinery rewrote their thoughts. Zara's 4 arms hung limp at her sides. Kix's golden eyes stared at nothing. Maya's hand moved instinctively toward her weapon before she caught herself. "Not here, not now." She forced her face to remain professionally interested as Vex explained the process. "The Zeltharian subject has proven surprisingly resistant," he noted, consulting a datapad. "Her emotional attachment to her previous caregiver creates interference patterns. We may need to employ enhanced techniques." "Enhanced techniques?" Maya asked, proud of how steady her voice remained. "Controlled neural trauma. Painful but effective in breaking stubborn memory engrams." Vex spoke about torturing her daughter with the same tone he might use to discuss the weather. Maya spent 3 more days establishing her routine, gaining access to more areas of the facility, and cataloging every weakness in their security. She discovered that the center's confident commanders had made one crucial mistake. They had never faced a human who truly understood warfare. On her fourth night, Maya initiated the hunt. She moved through the center's ventilation system like a ghost, Rex flowing silently behind her. Years of peace had not dulled her skills. If anything, the knowledge that her children's minds hung in the balance had sharpened them to a razor's edge. The first enforcer never knew she was there. Maya's blade found the gap in his armor with surgical precision, and he dropped without a sound. Rex dragged the body into a storage closet while Maya took the guard's access codes and communication device. They moved deeper into the facility, avoiding the main corridors and using maintenance passages that Maya had memorized during her inspection tours. The center's designers had planned for external assault, riot suppression, and prisoner escape. They had never considered the possibility of a predator stalking through their perfect halls. The Neural Programming Center was protected by multiple layers of security, but Maya had learned every patrol route and timing. She waited in the shadows as guards passed, counting heartbeats until the corridor was clear. Then she and Rex moved like liquid darkness toward their objective. The control room overlooked the Reformation chambers where dozens of children sat trapped in the neural programming chairs. Maya watched through the observation window as technicians monitored brainwave patterns and adjusted mental conditioning protocols. Her children were just two faces among many, but to Maya, they were the center of the universe. Rex took position by the door while Maya accessed the control terminal. Her fingers flew over the alien interface as she uploaded a virus she had spent years developing during quiet evenings on the farm. The program would appear to be a routine system diagnostic while actually reversing every neural modification made in the past month. Alarms began to sound as the virus propagated through the center's network. Emergency lights bathed the corridors in crimson as automated systems struggled to understand what was happening to them. Maya smiled grimly as she heard enforcer squads thundering through distant hallways, searching for an enemy they couldn't comprehend. She made her way to Zara and Kix's cells as chaos erupted around her. The electronic locks had defaulted to open when the system crashed, and her children stumbled out of their chairs with confusion in their eyes. "Mama Maya?" Zara whispered, her memory partially intact thanks to the virus. "I'm here, little star," Maya replied, pulling both children into her arms. "I'm here." Rex appeared at the cell entrance, his fur bristling with excitement. Behind him, the sounds of approaching footsteps echoed through the corridor. "Can you run?" Maya asked her children. Kix nodded, his golden eyes clearing as the neural programming effects continued to reverse. "We can run." Maya led them through the facility's twisting passages as hegemony forces converged on their position. She had memorized 17 different escape routes, and now she used them all, switching directions randomly to confuse pursuit. Rex ranged ahead, his enhanced senses alerting them to danger before it could materialize. They reached the vehicle bay as enforcer squads closed in from 3 directions. Maya grabbed a hover transport and powered it up as energy blasts scorched the air around them. Rex leaped into the vehicle's cargo area while Zara and Kix huddled in the passenger compartment. The transport burst through the bay doors and into the night sky of Dominion Prime. Behind them, the Cultural Reformation Center blazed with emergency lights as hundreds of confused children wandered free through its corridors. Maya's virus had done more than rescue her family. It had liberated every victim the center held. As they flew toward the spaceport where her ship waited, Maya felt a fierce satisfaction burning in her chest. The hegemony had taken her children thinking humans were weak, thinking they could impose their will without consequence. They were about to learn how wrong they were. "Where are we going, Mama Maya?" Zara asked as the stars grew brighter above them. Maya looked at her children, then at Rex, and finally at the burning city behind them. "Home," she said finally. "But first, we're going to make sure no one can ever take you away again." The hunt had become something larger. The Steel Storm was no longer fighting just for her family. She was fighting for every being the hegemony had tried to break. And she was just getting started, the reckoning. The safe house on Frontier Station Omega was little more than a converted cargo container, but it had what Maya needed most: isolation and powerful communication equipment. For 3 days, she had been sending coded messages across the galaxy while Zara and Kix recovered from their neural programming ordeal. Rex stood constant guard at the entrance, his enhanced senses alert for any sign of hegemony pursuit. Maya's children were healing, but slowly. The neural programming had left gaps in their memories and strange behavioral quirks. Zara sometimes forgot how to use all 4 of her arms simultaneously. Kix would start sentences in his native Mantari language before remembering he was supposed to speak standard. The damage was reversing, but Maya knew it would take time for them to fully recover. Time they might not have. The communication board chimed with an incoming message, and Maya's blood ran cold as she recognized the transmission signature. High Chancellor Thane himself, Supreme Commander of the Hegemony Empire, was calling her directly. She activated the holographic display, and Thane's image materialized in the cramped space. He was ancient, even by hegemony standards, his pale skin stretched tight over sharp bones, his eyes like black holes that seemed to absorb light. Behind him, Maya could see the throne room of the Imperial Palace, its walls decorated with the banners of conquered worlds. Maya Steel, Thane said, his voice carrying the weight of absolute authority. The steel storm returns to haunt us. Chancellor, Maya replied evenly, I was hoping we could chat. Thane's lips curved in what might have been a smile on a less predatory face. You have caused considerable inconvenience. The Cultural Reformation Center has released all its subjects, decades of careful work undone in a single night. Consider it a professional critique of your methods. Indeed. Thane leaned forward, his black eyes fixed on Maya with laser intensity. You have 36 hours to surrender yourself and return the stolen subjects. If you comply, your death will be swift. If you resist, You'll what? Maya interrupted. Send more ships? More enforcers? I've seen your military in action, Thane. I'm not impressed. The Chancellor's composure cracked slightly. You are one human, Steel Storm. We are an empire of 1,000 worlds. Your defiance is meaningless. Maya stood, her children moving to flank her sides while Rex growled low in his throat. That's where you're wrong. I'm not just one human anymore. She gestured to her communication board where dozens of green lights indicated active connections. For the past 3 days, I've been talking to friends, old allies from the Rim Wars, resistance cells on occupied worlds, every species you've tried to reform over the centuries. Thane's eyes narrowed. Empty threats. Are they? Maya smiled, and for the first time in years, it was the predatory grin of the Steel Storm. Tell me, Chancellor, how many ships do you have defending Dominion Prime right now? Before Thane could answer, alarms began sounding in the background of his transmission. A hegemony officer rushed into the throne room, his face pale with panic. High Chancellor, the officer gasped. We're detecting massive fleet movements in 17 systems. Kytherian battle groups, Thalaxian liberation ships, Mantari deep space raiders. They're all converging on our position. Maya's grin widened. Turns out a lot of species have been waiting for someone to throw the first punch. I just gave them permission to start swinging. Thane's image flickered as his ship's power systems diverted energy to defensive systems. This is madness, Steel Storm. You cannot hope to defeat the hegemony with a handful of primitive rebels. Maybe not, Maya admitted. But I don't need to defeat the entire hegemony. I just need to break the one thing that keeps your empire together. She reached toward the communication controls. See, I learned something during my time at your Cultural Reformation Center. Your whole empire is built on one simple principle, the belief that resistance is futile, that no one can stand against the hegemony's power. Maya's finger hovered over the transmission button that would broadcast her signal across the galaxy. But what happens when everyone sees the mighty hegemony brought to its knees by one human and her family? Thane's face contorted with rage. You would not dare. I'm human, Maya said simply. We dare everything. She pressed the button. Across the galaxy, on every world under hegemony control, communication networks carried Maya's signal. In the slave labor camps of Xerion III, Kytherian workers looked up from their assembly lines to see a human woman standing defiant before their oppressors. In the re-education centers of the core worlds, alien children watched as Maya Steel declared that no being belonged to the hegemony. On 1,000 occupied worlds, the message was the same. Resistance was not futile. It had just begun. The first hegemony response ships arrived at Frontier Station Omega within hours, but they found only empty space. Maya had already moved her family to a more defensible position, the ancient battleship Defiance, her command ship from the Rim Wars, hidden in the asteroid field of the Broken Crown system. The ship had been waiting for 15 years, its systems maintained by loyal crew members who had never stopped believing that the Steel Storm would return. As Maya walked onto the bridge, Captain Torres turned from the command console with tears in his eyes. Welcome home, Admiral, he said. Maya looked around at her old crew, humans and aliens who had fought beside her through the darkest days of the war. Many bore scars from hegemony weapons. All of them had scores to settle. Status report, she ordered, falling easily back into the rhythm of command. 12 Allied fleets converging on Dominion Prime, Torres replied. The Kytherians have brought their entire deep space navy. The Thalaxians are fielding every ship they have. Even the Gorthak Collective has sent raiders. Maya nodded, studying the tactical display. The hegemony had numerical superiority, but their forces were scattered across a 1,000-world empire. Her allies were concentrated, angry, and fighting for their freedom rather than their paychecks. And the hegemony response? They're pulling ships from everywhere, leaving their outlying systems practically defenseless. Local resistance movements are already taking advantage. Perfect. Maya had hoped that Thane would overreact, and the Chancellor hadn't disappointed her. By concentrating his forces to defend Dominion Prime, he had weakened his grip on the Empire's periphery. The battle for Dominion Prime began at dawn on the 5th day. Maya stood on the bridge of the Defiance, watching as Allied fleets emerged from hyperspace in perfect formation. Catherian carriers deployed their fighter swarms. The Laxian battleships powered up their massive siege cannons. Mantari raiders scattered across the system, preparing to strike at unexpected targets. In the center of it all, the hegemony's home fleet waited like a steel fortress in space. Their ships were larger, their weapons more advanced, their armor stronger. On paper, the Allied forces didn't stand a chance. But Maya Steele had never cared much for paper. "All ships," she broadcast on the general frequency. "This is Admiral Maya Steele. Today we end the hegemony's reign of terror. Today we show the galaxy that freedom cannot be conquered. Today we fight not just for ourselves, but for every being they have tried to break." She paused, looking at Zara and Kix, who stood beside her on the bridge. Rex lay at their feet, his yellow eyes fixed on the tactical display as if he understood the stakes. "For our children," Maya continued. "For our futures. For the right to be who we are instead of who they tell us to be. All ships, attack!" The battle that followed would be remembered for centuries. The Defiance led the charge, its ancient weapons blazing with renewed fury, as Maya demonstrated why humans had earned their reputation as the galaxy's most dangerous warriors. She fought with a tactical brilliance that bordered on prescience, anticipating hegemony movements and exploiting weaknesses in their formations. Rex proved that Earth creatures were forces of nature. When hegemony boarding parties tried to take the Defiance, they found themselves facing a Wolverine that moved like liquid lightning and fought with the fury of a world that had never learned to surrender. The enemy soldiers, trained to fight against civilized opponents, had no answer for 40 pounds of enhanced muscle and claws that could tear through armor plating. The turning point came when Maya led a strike team directly into the heart of the hegemony formation. While her allies engaged the enemy fleet, she piloted a stolen hegemony shuttle straight toward Thane's flagship, the massive dreadnought Eternal Order. "This is insane," Zara whispered as energy blasts exploded around their small craft. "This is human," Maya replied, threading the shuttle through a gap in the dreadnought's defenses that existed for exactly 2.3 seconds. They landed in the Eternal Order's main hangar, where Rex immediately set about terrorizing the ground crew while Maya and her children fought their way toward the bridge. The hegemony forces, trained for ship-to-ship combat, found themselves overwhelmed by Maya's ground assault tactics and Rex's primal aggression. High Chancellor Thane waited for them in his throne room, surrounded by his personal guard. The ancient ruler stood as Maya entered, his black eyes burning with centuries of accumulated power. "You cannot destroy what I have built," he declared. "The hegemony is eternal. Order is eternal." Maya looked around at the banners of conquered worlds, at the symbols of oppression that decorated every surface. Then she smiled. "Nothing is eternal," she said. "Everything can be broken." The fight was brief but decisive. Thane was old, powerful, and surrounded by elite guards. But Maya Steele was human, and humans fought dirty. When the dust settled, the Chancellor lay unconscious on his throne room floor while Rex stood over him, growling warnings at anyone who came too close. Maya activated the palace's communication system, broadcasting her message to every corner of the hegemony empire. "This is Admiral Maya Steele. High Chancellor Thane has fallen. The Cultural Reformation program is ended. All prisoners are to be released immediately. Any system that wishes to leave the hegemony is free to do so." She paused, looking at the throne that had symbolized oppression for so many species. "The age of forced unity is over. The age of chosen freedom begins now." Across the galaxy, the response was immediate. Resistance movements that had hidden in shadows for decades emerged into the light. Worlds declared independence. Species that had been scattered by hegemony policy began to reunite. The empire that had seemed eternal cracked and crumbled as its foundation of fear dissolved. Maya Steele could have claimed Thane's throne. Her allies would have supported her. The galaxy needed leadership, and she had proven herself the most capable warrior alive. Instead, she did the most human thing possible. She went home. 2 months later, Maya stood in the rebuilt wheat fields of Kepler 442b, watching as Zara and Kix played in the golden grain. Rex dozed in the shade of an apple tree, his enhanced metabolism finally at rest. Around them, the farm bustled with new life. Refugee children from dozens of species, all learning to be free again. The farmhouse had been expanded to accommodate their growing family. In the evenings, Maya would sit on the porch and listen to the sound of different languages mixing together as her children shared stories from their homeworlds. It was the most beautiful chaos she had ever heard. A shuttle landed in the nearby field, and Ambassador Kellix of the new Galactic Freedom Alliance emerged. The Thalaxian diplomat approached with the careful respect due to someone who had reshaped the galaxy. "Admiral," Kellix said, "the Alliance Council requests your input on the new Colonial Protection Accords." Maya looked up from her cup of tea. "I'm not an admiral anymore. I'm a farmer." "With respect," Kellix replied, "you will always be the steel storm to the galaxy. Your voice carries weight." Maya considered this, watching as Zara taught a young Kytherian cub how to braid grain stalks while Kix showed a group of Mantari children the proper way to listen for underground streams. These children would grow up free, able to choose their own paths, their own cultures, their own destinies. "Tell the Council this," Maya said finally. "Freedom isn't something you protect with laws or armies. It's something you nurture with love and defend with courage. The moment we forget that, we become just another empire." Kellix nodded and departed, carrying Maya's words back to the politicians and generals who were building the new galaxy. Maya returned to her tea and her grain fields, content in the knowledge that she had given the greatest gift possible to her children, the right to choose who they wanted to become. In the distance, Rex opened one yellow eye and rumbled approvingly. Even enhanced Wolverines, it seemed, appreciated a happy ending. The Steel Storm had returned to the peace she had always sought. But the galaxy knew, and her enemies remembered, that should anyone threaten her family again, the farmer's hands still remembered how to hold a rifle. Some stories end with victory. The best ones end with home.